Hey everyone, this is another session, and today I have a new guest with me. She's Kay, and today we will be talking about overcoming limiting beliefs, as I feel that these limiting beliefs are one of the causes why most of the human beings fail to achieve their true potential during their life. Welcome to the show, Kay.
Thanks for having me, Krishiv.
So, talking about limiting beliefs, uh, what are some limiting beliefs?
Some of them are that you feel you're not worthy of doing something. It could be that you've been programmed as a child that there's no way that you're going to achieve something that you're dreaming of. You could have been told no way. It could be that you believe yourself that you can't do something. In my vocabulary, there's no such word as can't. There's just another way of doing it to what you're thinking about at the time. But there's all sorts of things. It could be that you've had a trauma. It could be that you're suffering with depression or anxiety. Um, there's so many different ways of these limiting beliefs. It's a never-ending chain, if you like.
Right. And I think that a lot of times, as you rightly pointed out, it's not about whether I can or whether I cannot. It's more about how can I? When you
Yes.
change the question and start
Mm,
seeing things from this perspective, then the answers will also change. Sometimes it's
absolutely.
necessary to change the question in order to get a new answer that could be the the one answer that works, because
It
there
could
is no
be,
right or wrong.
there is no right or wrong. There's no right or wrong in anything that we do. It's just our way of doing something. Um, I mean, we can ask us or reframe the question to ourselves. Very often, even when we reframe that question, we still come up with the same answer because we've been programmed over a period of time that
Yeah.
that is our answer. Um, I think the best way to move a limiting belief is to seek help from either somebody like myself, who's a kinetic shift practitioner, or a hypnotherapist or a therapist of some kind that can shift those blocks. It could be that you need counseling if you've had a trauma, or again, it could be that you need to see somebody like me because I can help with that as well, with being a kinetic shift practitioner. But the thing is accepting that we have got something that's stopping us, and more than likely, that thing that's stopping us is ourselves. Yes, we label things limiting beliefs, anxiety, depression, whatever. When I was when I was in my dark days, we put it that way, my father told me it was all in my head. And I poo-pooed it, but actually he was right. It does start off in our head. And then we build up this scenario around those thoughts that we've been having. And those thoughts might not even be our thoughts. It might be thoughts that somebody else has put there. In my case, it was he'd put the thoughts there. I built them out of all proportion, if you like, and ended up with depression. Um, but who was my limiting belief? Was it my father? Was it my depression? Or was it me? It was actually me because I'd allowed him to plant those seeds. I'd allowed that depression to grow.
Yeah.
And it's a hard thing to accept that the only person to blame for not doing something is us. That is a really hard lesson to learn, but we're responsible for everything that happens in our life. whether we like it or whether we don't. I mean, we're all glad to brag about the good things that happen in our life and in our lives, but we very rarely want to talk about the bad things unless it's to moan. So, the first thing I would say to anybody that feels that they're stuck within that limiting belief pod, we'll call it, um, is to ask themselves, why are they there? Who planted that seed in the first place? Why did they allow it to grow? What help is out there for them? But just to remember that it's help. Nobody can flip their mindset for them. The only person that can do that is themselves. But there's plenty of people, as I said earlier, like myself, other therapists, counselors, even coaches that can help them flip that mindset and become the person who they were born to be. Because none
Yes.
of us were born to come to a dead end. We were born to achieve. But we live in a drip-fed society, whether we're in the UK or wherever we are in the world. We have adverts, we have propaganda, we have people telling us what to do, especially once we start school.
I
And
think, yes,
before that,
the education system is made to grow employees, not leaders. So I think that also
I don't think they're
plays a
necessarily
role.
even there to grow employees. They're there for us to feel subservient and that somebody else has got to pull our strings. And that doesn't necessarily just start in school. It can start with our parents,
Yes,
unfortunately. And it doesn't mean that our parents are setting out to make us feel that way. My father never set out to make me feel depressed. He set out to make me a better person than what
yes,
he thought I was going to be, but it didn't work. It backfired, and it caused me to have depression. Luckily for me, I found somebody that had belief in me and helped me to find myself, and then to admit to myself that what was happening in my life was actually down to me, down to not to anybody else, just to me. And that was a hard thing to do, was to admit that, okay, everything that's happened in my life, from the day that I was born to that day when I flipped my mindset, was down to me, and it's still down to me. And the hardest thing, I think, is when you start flipping your mindset, is you haven't got that support that you need. You don't
oh yes,
necessarily get the
yes.
support that you
I think
need.
women do receive some support from their female friends more
Yes.
than males, because males are not doing a good job on uh, showing their vulnerabilities. So, which is why mental health of women is usually, on average, a bit more better. And that's why you'll see that there are some men's mental health communities nowadays being
Which is I
formed.
think is absolutely brilliant.
Yes,
Myself, I'll work with men. I'll work with men or women, and funnily enough, it seems that I work with more men than women. But I'm here for anybody, no matter what sex they are, um, because mental health is something that we've brushed under the carpet for so many years, and it needs to come out in the open. Yes, it's more out in the open now than it's ever been, but people still feel ashamed to say, this has happened to me. I'm fortunate enough to have helped a couple of guys still be walking the planet because they did come to me and I was able to help them to flip their mindset from wanting to take their own life to wanting to live their life. But that wasn't down to me. I'm just a facilitator, the same as anybody else who's in therapy or that line of being. We're not the power that gets it there. The power is actually the person themselves wanting to change their lifestyle, wanting to be a different person to what they are today.
on
I mean,
that note, a question came into my mind. From all the things we've covered in the last 5-10 minutes, what do you think what should be integrated into the education system, even if it is for, let's say, one lecture every week? What subject should be included in the education system that
I think what should be
the
included is something that will encourage the pupils to believe in themselves,
okay,
that they need to look within rather than without for approval.
like a self-awareness thing?
Yes, it's a
Because
self-awareness thing.
in school, all we are taught is maths and science and social science and language. Yes, those are also uh, important, but I feel that the most important thing is completely ignored, and that is life, the subject of life.
Absolutely. I'll agree with you
Yes,
100% there. School is there to produce a production line, if you like,
yes,
whereas we are all individual.
we are
We're
all
all
individuals.
individual. You and I have agreed so far on everything that we've been saying, but that's because we both believe in that.
Yes,
It's not because we think the same, we do the same. We
yes,
have a belief that life is important. And I think that when the majority of people accept that life is important, life doesn't have to be a treadmill. We don't have to be on that hamster wheel going round and round in circles. We don't have to conform with what everybody thinks is the norm because each and every one of us is individual. And I think if there was something in the schools that helped children to believe that they're individual and to stop comparing themselves with their
comparing and
friends.
competing.
Parents,
Yes,
yes.
ranking 1, 2, 3 to the students. It's not
Mm.
doing
I mean, I
any
think that's
good.
I think we need a little bit of competition to fire up our own fire within our own selves. But I think it's when we start comparing and when we start thinking if somebody beats us, then we're a failure. We're not a failure. We're just not
Yes,
on the same level as them at the moment. And by coming second, third, or even last in a race, let's say, it doesn't mean that we failed. It means that we're not as good as those that have come first, second, or third. And we can improve. We can work on it if we want
always.
to. If we want to. But if we stop comparing ourselves with them and do what makes us feel good,
Yes,
that is what is the main thing. We don't have to run the race. We don't have to do that. Yes, we do if we're at school and it's a race day, we have to do a race, but we don't have to run a race. I mean, I very often compare life to, I don't know whether you know this game. There's a board game called Snakes and Ladders, where you throw a dice,
well, I
you
have
climb the ladders,
mentioned
and then
snakes and ladders so many times,
mm, mm,
even in my offline conversations,
yeah,
that sugar, alcohol, caffeine, these things are like snakes. You're climbing, and these things
mm.
can bring you down.
They can. On the other hand, they can give you a bit of freedom from that trap that you find yourself in, but they're not a cure. They're not a cure. In fact, when I was depressed in the beginning, my depression came at its height when I had my youngest child. She's 35 in a couple of weeks' time, so it's many years ago. Um, my husband and I found that having a drink on a night time helped me to relax, and I wasn't so depressed at that particular moment. But it's the same as anything. It needs to be in moderation. We were doing it every night. And then when we stopped the next morning, I was worse than I was the day before. So although it gives you a little hole of I feel good, the next day you don't feel as good. In fact, you feel worse than you did the day before.
Yes.
So I'm not against sugar, caffeine, or alcohol as long as it's done in moderation. A little bit of what you fancy does you good, as they say. But that's
It's
just it. A
it
little bit. A
it
little bit.
it should be kept as a luxury for
Yes, as a treat.
once
As
a
a
week
treat.
or once in
Yeah.
2 weeks, rather than making it an
Yeah.
everyday thing. So I
Yes,
have
absolutely.
lived in the UK, and I noticed some people are indulging every single day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
They
I
think it's a
had friends who were indulging in something or the other every single day. And I
yes.
saw little growth within those people as a human being.
Mm. I don't know about you, but I like to think of us as beings being human.
Yes,
And when we're not feeding that being, we're feeding that human,
yes,
we won't grow. We won't grow. It's like we've got a lotus flower, if you like, inside of us, and we need to feed that lotus flower for us to bloom. And it will bloom and it will fade and it will bloom and it will fade. But we need to keep on nurturing that flower within that being within us. Because at the end of the day, we're just their vehicle. And to feed that being, we have to nurture it. We have to nurture our mind, our body, and our soul. The three things are important. We're very good at nurturing our minds because we're very good at education. We're very good at feeding our body, in most cases, overfeeding our body. But most people forget about their soul, that wonderful being that's within us, that gives us the life, that gives us that purpose to do whatever it is that we are moved to do, if that makes sense.
that was a very powerful message. Thank you so much, Kate. I would say this podcast was like very efficient as we covered so much, and it's great to meet and to create this content with like-minded people like yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.